The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
Extreme fire danger returns to Southern California, where wildfire victims are already struggling to cope with the devastation. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Crews tonight are hoping another round of strong winds won't undo the progress they've made fighting those fires that have left at least 24 people dead. Southern California's winds are prompting a rare, particularly dangerous situation alert. That warning is set to take effect early tomorrow morning when Santa Ana winds with gusts around 65 miles per hour are expected to rip through the region. First responders say they are ready with more resources pouring in.
The potential for any of those hot spots that flare up spotting is very minimal just because there's so many crews out there dealing with it.
Wanted to tell the residents of Los Angeles, this team has your back. We have patrols up in the hills right now while the evacuation orders are in place to make sure that your properties are safe. And as you can see with the investigation, when we get evidence of a crime, we leave no stone unturned.
And President Biden today held a briefing with emergency managers at the White House. He said the federal government is covering most of the costs associated with the wildfire response, while at the same time he urged Congress to allocate more funding.
It cost tens of billions of dollars to get Los Angeles back to where it was. So we're going to need Congress to step up to provide funding to get this done.
All right, joining us tonight live to talk about the ongoing fire threat across Southern California is Paul Lowenthal, Division Chief and Fire Marshal with the Santa Rosa Fire Department in Northern California. Thank you again for the time tonight. We appreciate it. Let's first talk about obviously the headline tonight, which is the fact that we are expecting winds to pick back up. How are fire crews on the ground preparing for the return of these really extreme fire conditions tomorrow?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, and that's exactly what we were anticipating as those winds materializing again late tonight with those potentially dangerous conditions. That being said, not only have we had a number of resources actively patrolling the Pasadena, Altadena, Sierra Madre areas, looking for any hotspots that could potentially kick up, but more importantly, working on the northwest side of the fire above La Cañada, Flint Ridge areas, building contingency lines, putting in additional control lines, and using a significant number of aircraft to what we call paint the ridge, or using those retardant drops to paint the retardant along the ridge lines in the event that any fire threatens to spread in that area. There's been a lot of work done by the incident management teams in place here for the Eaton fire to make sure that, again, if there is any potential spread, that there are resources in place, contingency lines in place, and a lot of structure protection in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that structure protection, what would be your message tonight to people who are in the vicinity of the Eaton fire as the winds start to pick back up? What would you say to people about being prepared just in case there are fresh evacuations that are ordered?
Yeah, there's well over 3,200 firefighters at this incident, and a number of those resources, again, are committed to the protection of those structures in that La Cañada, Flint Ridge area, as well as that northwest part of Altadena. Know that they are there. They will remain there through the night and through the next several days. And always, residents in the evacuation warning area should have a plan. Be prepared to evacuate if there's any alerts that come out that move those warnings to an order. But again, know that we have resources, we have contingencies in place, and a lot of plans and wheels in motion to protect those communities in the event that there is any potential spread.
Yeah, and the Eaton fire where you are tonight is 33% contained. So obviously the crews have been doing some real incredible work to gain that kind of ground on this fire. How would you describe just how active this fire has been today?
From a spread standpoint, it's been minimal to none. Really, a lot of the burning and the flare-ups have been interior, but the concern, again, has just been some of those uncontrolled containment lines. There's parts of the Eaton fire that are absolutely inaccessible to not only apparatus and engines, but to our firefighters on the ground, to the point where it's unsafe to actually insert some of those firefighters to those particular locations. So we're relying heavily on our aircraft, using the helicopters to essentially drop on those areas to help build and strengthen the containment lines. That being said, there's a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of resources here committed to this incident.
Finally tonight, Paul, let me just ask you sort of on a personal note here. I know that the community where you are tonight is really close to your heart. You grew up in the Pasadena, Altadena area. That's where you went to school. I know you have a lot of people you know affected by this tragedy. How has this disaster affected the people that you care about?
Yeah, it's tough to see the number of fires that we've had across California impacting those that we know. It's getting to the point where it seems like everybody has some sort of a personal connection to the incident that they're on. We've heard plenty of stories about firefighters that have and first responders and police officers that have lost their homes in these fires, but they're all here. And that's some of the same things that we saw during our fires in 2017, 2019, and 2020 in Sonoma County. A lot of those same first responders that were impacted by those fires were helping fight those fires and also find themselves down here in Southern California. We've learned a lot. We've continued to make progress, but at the same time, we're just here to help one another and be here committed in this particular case to the communities of Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Altadena, and Los Angeles County.
Yeah, and obviously preparing for the weather situation tomorrow with those winds picking back up in Southern California. Paul Lowenthal with the Santa Rosa Fire Department. We appreciate the time tonight. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right, we talked about that warning off the top, what the National Weather Service describes as a particularly dangerous situation set to take effect tomorrow in Southern California. This is a designation reserved for the most extreme weather events. It was issued last week ahead of the winds that fueled the Palisades and Eaton fires. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, who is tracking the next round of strong winds that will be crossing Southern California and, of course, the conditions all across the West. Rosemary?
Yes, Alex. So we had the winds pick up earlier today. They have come down just a little bit, but expected to return even stronger tomorrow, lasting into Wednesday. Here's a look at the West Coast satellite, where we have this ridge here deflecting any storm from coming into California. It is also helping to create that offshore wind event because we have a system that dropped into California and then became a cutoff low off the coastline here. Notice this circulation in the counterclockwise motion. That's low I'm talking about. Meanwhile, we have this ridge of high pressure here that is parked, and this is the pattern that again is lending to the offshore wind and the pressure gradient between the two, bringing in the strength of those winds. So here's a look at tomorrow afternoon, where you can see we have east and northeast wind continuing over the state of California, and again expecting those stronger winds. Here's a look at what is happening in and across to Southern California right now. Ontario reporting a wind gust to 22. Over in Oxnard in the Ventura County area, gusting to 21. Earlier today, the gusts were reaching 35, 40 miles per hour or so. But when we take a look at the forecast when it comes to fire danger, there's a look right now as we get into tomorrow. Notice how widespread it becomes in the afternoon, and then another round on Wednesday with the red flag warning expiring 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And I want to point out, it's not just Los Angeles. Stretches all the way south into San Diego, stretches all the way northwest through Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, and to parts of San Luis Obispo County. So this whole entire area there under a red flag warning. Today, some isolated gusts reported anywhere from 50 to 55 miles per hour. Tomorrow, especially in our hills, we could see closer to 60 and 70 miles per hour with critically dry weather, anywhere from 10 to 20% relative humidity. Also an air alert, a smoke force, that smoke there. But notice as we get into the next 24 hours or so, the northeast and east wind continuing to push that smoke out primarily towards the water. And so that is some good news there. In any event, if you live in the Southern California area, you smell the smoke, you see the smoke, as you know, good to avoid it. When it comes to the cold, many parts of California and into the desert Southwest experiencing frost, freeze, wind advisories, temperature-wise near freezing for many parts of California tomorrow morning, and the wind advisories for parts of Southern California as well as parts of Arizona. Getting into the next few days, the only area that may see a little bit of rain is going to be the Pacific Northwest. We remain dry through California, through the desert Southwest, with temperatures really on the mild side. Low 60s for San Francisco, upper 60s to low 70s for LA, Phoenix in the low 70s for Wednesday, Thursday. Alex?
Rosemary, thank you. The ongoing wildfires have prompted the NFL to relocate tonight's playoff game between the LA Rams and Minnesota Vikings to Arizona. Here's a live look at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, just outside Phoenix, where the Rams are technically the home team tonight. Fans are seeing tributes to fire victims and first responders during this game. Before kickoff, there was a moment of silence that was held, and outside the stadium, fans had the people of Southern California on their minds.
I know the first responders from LA, other people that are suffering. We're gonna shout out to them, the other people that are suffering out there, and feel bad for them.
It's the big elephant in the room, but we're gonna take all that energy, take it in that building, and we're gonna destroy the Vikings. That's just it. Bring it home to LA. Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? That's right.
Tonight, Fox 10's Megan Plain shows us how State Farm Stadium moved quickly to get the venue ready for tonight's crowd.
Everybody stepping up to make sure that the game can still be played as they continue to fight that fire there in California. So the local stadium crews, they went from not having to worry about any type of postseason play to now being very busy over the weekend. They were quickly painting the field with blue and gold and LA Rams logos and putting up Rams banners inside and outside of the venue here. And the team shop is now filled with Rams gear. The Cardinals have also been helping the Rams get ready for the big game, in addition to opening up the Tempe headquarters to their division rivals to practice on Saturday and Sunday. The Cardinals also sent 2 Boeing 777 planes to pick up the team, staff, and their families. That was more than 300 people and 8 pets. The decision to move the game to Glendale was made last week. That is when the NFL, it says that the move was made in interest of public safety. The Rams team president says public safety leaders in LA County expressed doubts about whether they could adequately staff the game, even if conditions at SoFi Stadium were playable. This will be the first time that a postseason game has been played at a neutral site during the Super Bowl era. However, Arizona has a history of hosting displaced teams during the regular season. A game between the Chargers and Dolphins was moved to Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. That happened back in 2003 because of a wildfire. And State Farm Stadium also hosted some of the San Francisco 49ers regular season games. That happened back in 2020 when COVID restrictions in California kept them from playing games in their home stadium. We'll send it back to you guys.
Well, tonight, Rams players, coaches, and staff members are all wearing special gear with the Los Angeles Fire Department monogram. All of that gear will be available for sale online, with the profits going to support the LAFD and the American Red Cross. And we do have a link to that effort up at our website. That is westcoastwrap.com. Coming up tonight here on the show, some celebrities facing backlash for how they're getting involved in wildfire relief efforts. Tonight, why some are criticizing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Plus, a man in Colorado accused of stabbing 4 people at random, killing 2 of them. What we're learning tonight about the suspect. Getting back to the wildfires burning in Southern California, and crews tonight rushed to the scene of a new fire that started in Riverside County. This was called the Harupa Fire, burning between Chino and Riverside. Our sister station in Los Angeles says that firefighters have already brought that fire under control, which is great to hear, with the weather conditions expected to deteriorate as we head into tomorrow. Well, dozens of shelter animals from the LA area have arrived in Seattle tonight. This is part of an effort to prevent overcrowding from the influx of animals being rescued during these fires. The animals are getting medical treatment and will be up for adoption in the Seattle area soon. At least one group performing those rescues in Southern California is taking in large animals like horses and pigs, in addition to household pets. Jeff Morrell has been working to relocate large animals in the area of the Palisades fire. He says reaching those animals and getting them to safety can be a challenge.
Dangerous and difficult, yeah, because I have a big truck and trailer that I have to take through really narrow, windy roads. And then I also have to have a way to turn it around and rescue the animals and then take them out safely. Animals deserve a chance too. And a lot of times the owners aren't home, or the owners have to leave and they can't take big animals. They don't have the means to do it.
Morrell expects to start reuniting rescued animals with their owners as soon as evacuation orders are lifted. A number of celebrities have been stepping up to help fire victims, including Halle Berry and Sharon Stone, who dropped off donations at an LA nonprofit. Also, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle took time to visit fire victims and first responders in Pasadena. But as TMZ reports, the royal couple facing some criticism for that visit. Former Family Ties star Justine Bateman called the pair, quote, disaster tourists after they were seen walking through one neighborhood that burned.
There are a certain number of people who are always just going to criticize everything Harry and Meghan do. And I think they should be applauded for, coming down and trying and pitching in with charitable efforts. Remember that Meghan Markle is a LA native. She was born and raised here, so she has an interest in it. It's just the part where you go on the tour, you don't need to. We've all seen the images on TV. We know how devastating it is. You shouldn't need that, in-person tour.
And TMZ reached out to Harry and Meghan's representatives for a comment, but they have not yet heard back. The upcoming Grammys in Los Angeles will proceed as planned, scheduled for Sunday, February 2nd at Crypto.com Arena in downtown L.A. According to the LA Times, the majority of the show will be focused on raising money for wildfire relief. Plans are reportedly in the works for a benefit concert in the days leading up to the show, put on by Music Cares, the Grammys charity foundation. And the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences announced it will delay the Oscar nomination announcement because of the wildfires. The Academy planned to announce nominees on January 17th, but pushed it back to January 23rd. Several events that come before the Oscars were also postponed or canceled. The award show is still scheduled to take place on March 2nd. And you can stay on top of the Southern California fires by heading to our website. It's westcoastwrap.com. Our online coverage includes a breakdown of arrests that have been made in the fire zones, including the suspects accused of stealing over $200,000 worth of merchandise from a home near the Palisades fire. Tonight, crews have the upper hand on a large wildfire in Arizona. The Horton fire is now 80% contained tonight. It's been burning for nearly a month in the Tonto National Forest northeast of Phoenix. It's grown to more than 8,300 acres, but there are no reports of any structures being damaged. All evacuation orders have been lifted. Police in Denver have arrested a man accused of 4 random stabbings. 24-year-old Elijah Cottle is being held without bail tonight. Those stabbings happened on Saturday night near a downtown shopping area, leaving a woman and a man dead, and 2 other victims survived the attack. Police do not believe the victims had any connection to the suspect or to each other. Authorities say Cottle does have a criminal history that includes several previous assaults. Up next tonight here on West Coast Wrap, with a potential TikTok ban looming, the app's influencers are looking for new ways to try to make money. Tonight, the kind of money that is on the line for users. There are new concerns tonight about a wider outbreak of bird flu after 2 pets died after drinking infected milk. A pet owner in California says 2 of his cats died after drinking raw milk that was recalled because of the bird flu risk. The CDC says right now there are 66 confirmed cases here in the U.S. The majority are in 3 western states, California, Washington, and Colorado. Health officials are trying to contain the virus to prevent the possibility of a genetic mutation that could allow it to be transmitted from person to person.
If that happens, what that means is that you don't need exposure to a chicken or a cow because you could have gotten from someone at the grocery store.
Experts are urging the public to do what they can to stop the spread, that is, avoid raw milk and contact with animals. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for a coordinated federal response, saying health officials will have all of the resources they need. A lot of TikTok users won't have money coming in if the app is banned here in the U.S. this coming Sunday. Fox 13's Taylor Winkle shows us what this could mean for influencers.
It really is wild to see how much revenue posting daily videos on this app has brought some of its most popular users. When you look at the lifestyles of some of the top creators, the social media analytics website Social Blade reports influencers like Charli D'Amelio and Cabby LeMay are making upwards of $90,000 per an upload. TikTok itself says around 2 million creators would suffer $3 million in lost earnings in just 1 month. And 7 million small businesses across the U.S. that use the app will lose out on $1 billion in revenue. The app itself was valued by investors at more than $84 billion last year, all while the U.S. Justice Department claims it's collecting swaths of data from tens of millions of Americans that could be used for espionage or blackmail.
Congress doesn't care about what's on TikTok. They don't care about the expression. That's shown by the remedy. They're saying that the Chinese have to stop controlling TikTok.
Meantime, TikTok is such a powerful force over our spending that 1 out of every 4 people will buy something after they watch a beauty TikTok. Influencers primarily make money from posting videos with brands, so it's possible that they could take their following from TikTok to another platform. But even still, President-elect Donald Trump wants to save TikTok and ask the Supreme Court to pause the ban until he can work out a political resolution once he takes office. Meantime, some media outlets are talking about workarounds for users to keep accessing the app if a ban is put into place, like using something like a VPN. I'm Taylor Winkle, Fox 13 News.
A TikTok ban here in the U.S. could potentially take effect as early as Sunday if the U.S. Supreme Court does not intervene. We could see the contents of the special counsel report on the Trump election interference case as early as tomorrow. Federal Judge Eileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump, issued a ruling today saying the Justice Department can release part of the report from former special counsel Jack Smith's probe into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. It could be released as soon as midnight, barring any action by Trump's legal team. The judge has also set a hearing for Friday on whether the Justice Department can release a part of the report on Trump's classified documents case. The prosecutor who investigated Hunter Biden is defending the work and criticizing President Biden for maligning the Justice Department when he pardoned his son. David Weiss, whose team filed gun and tax charges that resulted in felony convictions, released the report saying while other presidents have pardoned family members, none used it as an opportunity to malign the department by questioning the integrity of the criminal case. When President Biden announced the pardon, Biden said his son had been treated differently on account of his last name. And finally tonight, new snowfall in the Southwest. Today, the National Weather Service posted these images to social media showing snow sticking to the ground near Albuquerque. The meteorologists, of course, slowed down that footage to send what they call snow globe vibes, and I think it worked for them. Up to 2 inches of snow is expected out of this system that is crossing New Mexico today. Beautiful shot there. That does it for us for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And another reminder before we go tonight, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we are following across the West, including our latest coverage on the Southern California fires. We have it all for you up at westcoastwrap.com. And you can stream our shows with your smart TV. All you need to do is download the free Fox Local app. A beautiful shot of the San Francisco skyline tonight. Have a great night.